Guys, let's talk about payments, right? Payments is so complex and so unnecessarily convoluted for people. Okay. And it's such a pain that people don't understand how complex it is. And banks have tried over the years to try and make it less complex as possible, but it's clear that it's not going anywhere, right? And we know this, right? So, again, who am I? I'm the CEO of Orukka. Orukka has a smart payment ring. And I have a dream, guys. My dream, yeah, is that we're going to be able to make payments where you just tap to pay with your ring. Actually, that's not a dream, it's happening now. So you can tap to pay with these rings, okay? It's a ring, just tap to pay wherever you are. You don't need to carry your wallet around. You don't need to carry your phones around. You don't need to link this to your primary account. So a few rings actually allow you to link your ring to a private account. To me, that's a problem because if you link this to your salary account, someone steals this, they've stolen your primary ring. Okay, they've stolen your bank account. But if you have this as a bank, where you actually decide what goes in here, which would be your expense account. So this becomes an expense account that you top up maybe $1,000 every week or every month. And then you use this going forward. So to me, I think this is the future. It's already happening. And people compare us to other rings, okay, which is okay. I don't mind the comparison. But we're coming from a very different angle here, right? We're trying to solve something different. I want to solve a problem where we don't need our phones anymore for payments. And that's a bigger problem. It's not really about just tapping to pay. You can already do this today, right? So our rings will allow you tap to pay. If you want to go for a swim, tap to pay. You want to go for a run, you don't need your bag anymore. Just tap to pay. You want to go on a travel, okay, in a very dangerous place, take your ring, not your primary ring, not your primary account. Okay. Because a lot of people say, oh, please link it to my mortgage account. Okay. Please don't. Yeah. Don't link a payment where you buy coffee, Starbucks, and go for a run and link it to your primary account. Don't do that. A few people allow that, but I don't think that's the best. We are our own, fintech app. We allow you top up and pay wherever you are. But what I want to talk about, sorry, is that I think we should be in a stage where you can just tap to pay wherever, right? And let the complexity be out of it. Payments are so complex, really complex. Like people have no idea. You know, when you go over to pay for at a Starbucks, let's say Starbucks, for example, you buy a coffee, you go over and you tap to pay, okay? There are key players there. There are a lot of people there, which you don't know. The middlemen, right? And they take everything in between. So when you think you're paying for coffee, say you pay for coffee for $10, right? You're actually paying $3 as fees, sometimes more. Here in the US, is more. Here in Europe, it's a bit cheaper, but it's still expensive. Yeah, compared to crypto, right? But my point is, it's just so complex. So I can tell you, when you make a payment, there are five people involved. There's you, there's a merchant, okay? And in between, there are minimum three people. There's the payment aggregator, which would then gather the payment that you've just tapped. So you've tapped to pay on a POS terminal. It's a payment aggregator that gathers all those payments and pays the merchant a day after or 2 days after. Sometimes they pay it a lot quicker. When they pay a lot quicker, they charge the merchant. The merchant actually pays more to get their money quicker, even though you just pay them immediately, right? There is that which is complex. People don't realize that. There's also the fact that it goes in through MasterCard or Visa, and those guys are the MasterCard, they're the networks, okay? Sometimes it goes through a bank, so the bank then becomes the rail. Okay, so the network is a rail that transfers money across. Again, you don't realize this, but it happens. And then it comes then to your bank, right? In this case, it lands in your bank account if you're the merchant, or it gets taken from your bank account if you're the customer. But that gives you five people who are involved in every payment, which is complex, unnecessarily complex, right? And why is that? I can tell you now, again, I've worked in banking all my life, right? Almost close to 20 years, right? So I'm not just an influencer, clearly, if you can't tell. I started, this is a fintech, not a fashion. So a lot of people actually compare us to other payment rings. And the payment rings that you possibly see are from fashion people, right? So there are a lot of fashion guys that go ahead and put a ring together and then they try and link it to your ring or your app, right? Because they don't know banking, okay? They just give the ring and then hopefully you try and figure it out yourself. That's a problem because people can't link things themselves. So that's why rings haven't done well because people don't know how to configure it or they don't know how to link it to their bank account and it's a pain. For us, we do both. So we do the ring, we do the payments. So we do fintech. Okay, we're the first actual fintech that does this, right? And we allow you pay with, again, with crypto, with Coinbase, with Binance, with everything, right? Just tap to pay, not just a bank account. So we're everything. So when you wear this, it's actually a banking app as opposed to a ring that just connects your primary account. I see what I talk about banks, right? So just so you know, banks clearly, if you can't tell, don't trust each other, right? So banks don't trust each other. So, and that's what started the complexity of payment. So if you wanted to pay someone, if you're in the US, you wanted to pay someone in Nigeria, right? You have to understand um, that the banks don't trust each other. So what that means then is they have to go in and find a correspondent bank. So you pay your bank, the bank withdraws the money, but they don't have a bank or branch in Nigeria. So what they're going to do, they have to go look for a correspondent bank. Correspondent bank is going to then send it via Swift. Swift is a messaging system. It goes from Swift to a bank in Africa that can take the money. The bank in Africa then takes the money and transfers it over to the recipient's bank. And the recipient's bank then transfers the money to their account if they can find it. Okay. And that's why it takes 3 to 5 days sometimes that people don't realize. Sometimes it takes 7 days, 10 days to send that money across because you're going through different banks. Each bank have their own KYC. They have their own checks that they do. So the money that's going, they have to find out exactly what it's for, why it's being sent, and make sure that the recipient or someone who's sending it are not under any guarded list in their country. Because I'll tell you why. If you are going to send it's just funny, believe it or not. If you're going to send money from Nigeria to South Africa, it goes to the dollar system. So it goes to dollar, and then from the dollar, it goes back to South Africa. Even though they're both outside the US system, it goes through that. So that means you're checking. The US dollar has to check. So it goes to the US dollar account. The US dollar checks the recipient and the sender to make sure that there's nothing wrong there before they send it across. If you can't tell, this is expensive, very expensive. Number one, because of all the checks that has to be done. Number two, because the level of intermediaries that go in there. And so the point I'm trying to make then is the fact that it's expensive to send money across because number one, of all the checks that has to be done. Number two, because the level of intermediaries. And that's why it was easy. People were happy to see, MasterCard and Visa, Western Union those days. But it's still the same thing. Western Union, believe it or not, are not any better because all they do is they just set up different bank accounts in different places. But they still have to do the checks. They still have to pay. So you're paying for all those checks, which is expensive. And I realized the hypocrisy in this because we're technically I'm a banker, right? And we're a banking app. Even though we do rings, we're a banking app. We're just closer to the customer because we do rings, not just a plastic card. But what I see, right, what I think the future is going to be for payments would be, and this guy already said this, right? Elon Musk already said this, that there'll be no phone apps tomorrow. There'll be no phone apps by tomorrow, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, there'll be no phone apps. So what's going to happen? The future will be that you tap to pay. And sure, you do it today already. So if you have your card, right, your card already works with Visa, MasterCard, Amex. When you tap to pay, you don't say, I'd like to pay with Visa, please. No, you just pay, right? And it goes through Visa or MasterCard. It doesn't matter. Okay. So what I think is going to happen in the future, and we're working towards this, right? Will be that you have your ring. When you pay from ring to ring, you can have two rings, right? And you tap to pay, or you talk to the ring and it goes through. Okay. What will happen then is we or the banks would find out the cheapest way to pay because it's already happening, right? You can pay today, right? You can pay with what's called the interbank or faster payments, right? In Europe. In the US, you're working towards that already, which is called faster payment. In the US, you can go in and you can pay and you can get money immediately, okay? Or you can do a Venmo app, you can do, which again, that's complex, right? Different apps are complex, I can tell you. Everyone wants to be on Venmo, okay? But there's Venmo, there's PayPal, there's different payment rails all over. My point is in the future, you're going to have a device, a wearable, like us. We would go in and you tap to pay. And you don't have to worry because what we'll do is we'll find the cheapest way and the fastest way to pay. If two of you are in the US, you go through the Fed, okay? Pay effortlessly. Oh, wait, what if two of you, one person is here and the other person is in Mexico? Then we're going to go through a US dollar rail. So in Mexico, they have a faster payment that actually has US dollar. So we can use that to pay. Wait, what if you're sending the money to, let me see, to Kenya? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it and go through, maybe we'll go through the Fed, then transfer it straight across into a stable coin. Then from a stable coin, we'll transfer it down to, M-Pesa. For instance, M-Pesa is in Kenya as well. So the point I'm trying to make there is the fact that we'll get to that stage and we're working towards that. That will be my dream. Okay. And I give you the commitment. Come back and put me here. Give a commitment that the user is going to pay. And then we're going to find the cheapest way possible for that user to transfer money. Cheapest and the fastest way possible so that you don't have to worry about it. And to me, that will be the future. And that's what I'm working towards. If I don't solve that, I'm not going to go to bed. You can take that as a tagline. I'm not going to sleep and I'm not going to rest until I solve that. That you should be able to go in and tap to pay, and we would find the cheapest way for you to pay, right? Cheapest way possible. I remember when Bitcoin came around, and Bitcoin, everyone shouts about this. Hey, you can pay across the world. Okay, you can pay with anybody, you can pay to anybody. That was good.